hear your points of view around the types of auditor's report that you will issue. So it can be anything from qualified to adverse. Would like to hear what you think. So when it comes to those sort of questions, right, I typically find that because the person sitting in front of me is panicking, worried about what they need to answer or how they're supposed to answer, when we do pose that scenario kind of questions, the candidates sometimes tend to, get lost. It's very important that you listen very clearly. And if you need clarification, you ask for that clarification. Once is fine, twice, you can accept. But once you ask the third time, my question will be maybe you don't know the answer. So be clear how you act, how you ask the questions, and be alert at all times in the process. Next page. So the non-core knowledge areas, I think what's been presented here is relevant. You must know this stuff also. Perhaps in not so much details, but as an interviewer, I expect you to be able to articulate to me. So for example, in the past, I've asked questions around why e-invoicing is important. Give me your points of view. Not all questions have to be textbook questions and textbook answers. Sometimes we just want to hear your maturity and whether you've really been keeping in touch with what's been happening out there. I've also very often asked questions around the sustainability standard, IFRS S1, S2, and the thoughts that you may have around whether these standards are going to make a difference to sustainability efforts out there. The role of the auditor today, without those sustainability standards in place yet, what is our role? How do we address that in our audits? You've got the new NSRF developments coming up. Please do read through that. Understand the requirements, because those questions will be something that will be asked in future. Similarly, Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001, very important questions. We typically would approach this from asking you how you embed this in your audit. How do you, address this with your clients and understand what they have been doing with regards to compliance with this act. Personal data protection and also the Competition Act, those continue to be very relevant to all of us, even though the standards have been, the acts have been issued at least 13, 14 years ago. And last but not least, the knowledge general principles of tax. I would say that these standards tend to more, along the lines of whether you understand the requirements of the Income Tax Act, not so much the very technical application of the tax laws. So I'm not going to ask you this type of expense, this kind of company, is it deductible or would it be added back? Not that kind of technicality, but more around the general application of the Income Tax Act with respect to the kind of business that you guys audit. Next page, please. So the approach, we tend to be guided by the scope set out. So there is no reason why anyone should come back and say, wow, the question they asked, it's so out there. Nothing to do with the scope. It's always guided by the scope. There is no reason, right, if you have studied, from my point of view, right, and you've gone through the materials, you're now listening to the practical advice that we're giving you, there's no reason why you should not be able to answer the questions. I think the challenge that I've seen on most interviews is when we ask the interviewee to explain what certain things mean in their own words and why it's relevant to them as an audit partner. I think that has always been a challenge. But typically, I think if you can answer that, you score extra points. To me, at least in my books, because I am very particular about understanding what you're doing, not just memorizing books. The time allocated is about 20 minutes. Sometimes we do go above board, but if typically, I think sometimes if we finish in 10 minutes, then you know it will do well. Because we can see, right, from the start the questions, right, that we ask. The first 2-3 is really give you the confidence, right, to answer. But even if the simple questions you cannot make it, then I believe sometimes there's no need to proceed and prolong the pain. And we would just say, okay, done, complete. No need to worry, because MIA is the last one. You didn't do well for MIA, which you shouldn't. Most of you should be doing very well for the MIA session. You do well for MIA. If you do not, however, do well for MIA with the last panel interview anyway, you can just walk out, I guess, knowing that you probably have to resit. But as I said, I do not want that to happen. We typically do not want that to happen. We want our interviewees to do well, and we will help along the way to make sure that you can answer the questions, because we do accept that the interviewee could be a bit panicky, could be a bit worried about the outcomes of the interview and stuff like that. So we're not there to kill you. Don't forget that. Typically, it's 5 to 10 questions. I normally like to ask about 8 to 9 questions, and then we score you based on that. And this would typically vary according to your own experience. We do need to read through your experience, your profile, and whatever not. So I'm not going to ask you questions about how is contractual service margin under IFRS 17 recognized, and all that kind of stuff, if you have never done an insurance audit before. If you have, and in your profile you say that you are continuing to do that, then it's my job to ask. Okay? I hope that's clear. Next slide, please. Now, what do we typically look out for? Of course, the knowledge of the stuff that you're expected to know, the core and non-core that we talked about. I expect that you should know that stuff. Because it's auditing standards, right? As I mentioned, you are an auditor. You're guided by standards. If you cannot answer what the standard requires, then it's very difficult to say, yes, this guy's ready. IFRS, MFRS, MPERS, if your profile fits those, then we will ask according to what those standards require. Again, if you are unable to answer appropriately or articulate in your own understanding of what they mean, it will be difficult for us to say that this guy is ready. You need to be confident. We move to the right, your expression of confidence. Don't, of course, be overconfident, because sometimes overconfidence leads to a bit of cockiness, right, during the interview. Just be yourself. Answer to the questions. Do not need to waffle and blah. Waffle and blah means you're talking around and around and around. Get to the point. Answer the question. That's what we ask. That's what we look for. We do not need somebody to talk about everything else in the world without answering the question. Because ultimately, you're graded based on the question we ask, not how clever you are to talk. Right? I'm being very direct. Companies Act 2016, the application of particular sections, you need to know this stuff, especially with respect to your role as an auditor at the company. I've talked about the practical application of your knowledge. It's not about memorizing the books. All of you have got tons of experience, years of experience in doing audit. You should know how to apply this practically, and you need to make sure that you bring that practical knowledge there. Remember, the interview is not a paper question. It is talking to another human being. When you talk to another human being, you need to be able to explain to them what certain things mean to you if you're asked. Which leads to the next point. Articulate your understanding well to the question. do not articulate your understanding of other things that are not related to the question. I found that very common. What we typically do is we won't let you waffle. All right, I will not let you waffle if you're not answering the question. I'll tell you, I will probably stop you and say, okay, we talked. Great, but can you answer that question? Right? So that's how we believe we can help. Because if I just listen to you and I just say, but you didn't answer the question, then no point, right? Because zero. I would rather pull you back, answer the question. So don't feel intimidated if we do that, because I think we're just trying to help you and guide you to answer the question that we just asked. Capital markets, your general understanding of the CMSA, MFRS, listing rules, non-performing loans, those sort of stuff will typically also be asked by the securities commission guys, but they would probably ask you more for an enforcement perspective. We will probably ask you from, if this happened, how would you address it as an auditor? So we want to, again, understand the maturity, understand how you will apply this in your context and given your own experience. And last but not least, expression of your professionalism. We're all professionals. We're all qualified accountants, right? You've gone through your university, your professional exams, whatnot. You're a qualified accountant. MIA has endorsed you, given you the membership. And now we've gone through the process of vetting you for readiness for the interview. Just present that professional image when you come in. Professionalism means being confident of your knowledge, first and foremost. It's not about just dressing up. It's about being confident of your knowledge. Once you're confident of your knowledge, you will be able to express yourself well, given the questions that are posed to you. And most importantly, you should be able to also engage in a discussion with the interviewer, should the need arise, around certain points. I'd rather prefer someone to engage me and I can see the maturity, I can see the professionalism, rather than just answering to the question. It makes my life a little bit more interesting. I can see also your personality, and let me tell you, that does add up to the points in here. Next page, please. So, again, bit repetitive here, but never mind. You will be assessed definitely on a professional image. I've explained to you what I look for, right? When I consider professional image. Dress well, no doubt, because that first impression is very important, right? Make sure the tie is properly put up, the jacket is on nicely, got the hair properly combed. You got long hair, whatever, not try to, tie it up. I'm not going to hold it against you. I mean, all for diversity, right? Tie it properly, slick it back, look nice, address the panel members as you come in, nice smile, good morning, or that helps with building the confidence, right? If you come in with sour face and morning, I can tell you that the reaction from the panel members is going to be the same. But if you see people smiling at you across the table, that will make things a lot better, right? Communication skills, very important to understand that communication is two-way. It's not just the question going back to you and then you answer that. You must communicate well. If you do not understand the question, do ask, right? But ask in a way that reflects your professionalism. The way you deal with your clients. So it's like a board member asks you, hey, I don't understand this. Can you explain to me? What do you not understand? Please let me know. I can go to that particular area and explain to you again. So communicate that. Be professional in that communication. You need to know industry well, especially, for example, if you are putting in your CV application form that I audit banks. Oh, trust me, a lot of the questions are going to come your way from Bank Negara, from SC, from MIA. It's going to be around banking audits. So exhibit that knowledge. There is no reason why you should not have that knowledge. A lot of times, as I said, the inability to communicate that knowledge is because the person is worried, the person is panicking, and that does a lot to your mind, right? When we go for this kind of and last but not least is, of course, make sure your core and non-core competencies are intact. Right? Next page, please. So, as I mentioned, we do look at your experiences. We understand that there are many different types of firms out there who do different kinds of audit clients. So, small firm, it could be mid-tier, big firm candidates. We will ask you issues, we'll ask you matters related to your practical experience and also your knowledge. But the non-core stuff, I believe, are general information that you need to know. I'm not going to ask you for specifics around, sustainability reporting or climate risk management and, stress testing analysis that Bank Negara has issued as part of their guidance. I'm not going to ask you that if you are an auditor of a small firm or small SMEs or stuff like that. I'm not going to ask you that. But a general understanding of this stuff is important. So, as you study, do not just focus on the areas that are relevant to you. Understand also these developments, at least generally, to be able to engage with your interviews as time goes by. What if you don't have experience in banking audit? You know the typical questions you all know, right? What's going to come out from central bank? So at least you need to know that. You need to know those questions around biggest asset, biggest liabilities, around impairment losses and how to treat that. Those would be typically the stuff I think that Bank Negara would ask. We as MIA I would probably ask from an MFRS perspective your understanding of expected credit losses and how to apply them. Again, you may be for small firm, you may be for big firm. The issue here is MFRS, financial reporting standards. While you won't apply it in the work as an accountant, you should know some bits of it. The same thing with PLC accounts, yeah? Next page, please. So, I think the seminar has been useful. As I mentioned earlier, right? When I first did my interview, there was no seminar. Just study whatever you need to study. It was no real guidance. It came about right after I had got my licenses. But I think the seminars are useful in the sense that if you are listening very intently today to the guys from SC, Bank Negara, from SSM and from MIA, you should get some very clear guidance about what you should be studying. Of course, by all means, this is your best time, right? How many of us get that opportunity, right, to really revisit all the stuff that we've been doing all these years? You get the opportunity to study again and prepare yourself for an interview with a panel of really wonderful people who are very nice and really wanting you to succeed. You think about it that way, you do very well. If you think about this as, it's a chore, I have to study for this because your panel members are terrible fellows who are willing to fail me anytime, then it becomes something that is going to be very tricky for you, right? You're gonna wade into this situation with so much trepidation, so much uncertainty that it will weigh on you. So go into that with an open mind, knowing that 58% of those who have interviewed, right, have passed. So you look at the bottom there, number of participants that had the interview, passed 610, and had the interview by about 1,060. So you take a 610 or 1,000, about 60%. Not bad. The 40% typically maybe we have failed one panel member, or we could have failed all four. What I found through my experience as an interviewer with for MIA over the last, I can't remember how long, I think 4 or 5 years really. What I found is that most of the time, those who pass, those who fail, they didn't prepare. They didn't really study, or they didn't, they maybe attended the seminar and thought there was enough. It never is. You must always put in the study. There were 49 seminars, I think, done as of 30th September 2024, which is remarkable. And I think MIA has done a very good job in bringing the interviewers together to share our experience. And hopefully this will help you in your studies, help you to focus on what is important, so you come for the interviews very well prepared. Next, please. So long and short, I think the seminars have been effective. It's useful. It's really up to you to go away from the seminar today. Make sure you're studying the right things and focusing on the areas that I've just been mentioning, right? And the other speakers will be talking to you about. There are coaching sessions that can be arranged, I think, by past members of the MIA interview panel, public practice committees. And these are available for candidates that meet these requirements. One, you have failed more than 2 times, hopefully not. Everybody, please pass, study, and you will pass, no problem. The gap between research and previous exams, it shouldn't be more than 2 years, right? So if you have a situation where you fail all 4 badly, that could be barred from coming for the interview for 1 year, which is always not good. Candidates must have attended the seminar, which is today, and you must have the intention to re-attempt the interview in the next 6 months. So, fail more than 2 times, the last attempt was not more than 2 years, you attended the seminar, and you are intending to re-attempt 6 months, you are entitled, I guess, to get coaching sessions from past members of the MIA interview panel, including me. But if you deal with me,